Hey, hello, everybody. Again, this is Geoff Holzclaw from Vineyard North, and I'm interviewing local Midwest pastors just about the Holy Spirit and how they've kind of entered into the naturally supernatural ministry. And today we have Amanda Clark of Branches Vineyard, but I forget what town that's in. You're in Indiana.
Warsaw, Indiana, northern Indiana.
Warsaw, Indiana. We're up here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so I've been talking to various pastors. So I just want to shoot out these first questions to you, which was, when did you first see God at work? When did you first start experiencing God? What was that like?
Well, I grew up in a church that practiced all of the gifts of the Holy Spirit and was very Pentecostal. And so it was really the air that I breathed. I didn't ever not see it, and I didn't know that other churches didn't practice that. So we, as a family, prayed for people to be healed regularly. I didn't actually see many healings, but we did pray for that. And we prayed for miracles all the time. We spoke in tongues, and people would fall out under the power of the Holy Spirit, fall down in church and things like that. So it was very normal part of my growing up experience. But there were also some things that went along with it that weren't so good. The church I was part of practiced faith healing, which meant that it was wrong to go to doctors. And so there was some bad stuff that happened as a result of that. And also a few times where specifically a prophecy was spoken over my family, and it was very specific and it didn't come true. And that was hard and kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. So then fast forward, I'm a young adult. I'm sorting through a lot of my feelings about it, some really positive experiences, some really negative experiences, trying to figure out how I felt about the gifts of the Holy Spirit, which I really wanted to practice, but I didn't want to hurt anybody. And one of my first experiences of the Holy Spirit for myself, like ministry for myself, was shortly after high school. I joined a one-year Bible program at a local church that was really also charismatic and practiced the gifts of the Spirit. And one of the things we did was to pray over each student had a prayer session with a couple trained prayer ministry team people to pray over any kind of demonic oppression. And based on a childhood trauma where I had been left by my family at church and started walking home, it was really sad. I had not unknowingly picked up a spirit of abandonment or of a fear that I would be abandoned. And so in that prayer session, that was identified and also commanded to leave, and then it did leave, and I didn't experience that anymore. And so that was probably the first time in my life where I experienced it fully for myself in my own body, the experience of Jesus setting me free from an oppressive spirit.
Wow. So you were raised in that kind of environment, but it wasn't until you really had a deliverance where you were like, this really works. Like, God is really at work in all these things.
Yes.
Well, that's exciting. How then did you, to our second question that I've been asking everybody, is how did you learn to develop those gifts, or how did you learn to do what Jesus did in a more kind of intentional manner?
Yeah. Well, because I had grown up in that, and I had literally been praying for people for healing my whole life, prayed, for prophetic words from people as a teenager on, I was doing all of it, but I started going to a Vineyard church when I was 19, when my husband and I got married, and they did a lot of the same things. We prayed for people to be healed and prayed for miracles, prayed for prophetic words for people, but we didn't have some of the bad or toxic theology that I grew up with. And that gave me space to kind of sit with some of the negative stuff. And that actually caused me to a little bit shut down from it for a while. I still believed in it. I wanted it to be a part of my life, but I was kind of processing all the negative stuff that had happened to me and that I had seen happened, imbalances, people acting real weird. And I recognized that my heart was a little shut down when I had a conversation with some people at church about how excited they were about some revivals that were happening in Florida. And some of the stuff they were talking about, I instantly felt resistance to it because it sounded like what I'd grown up with. And so then I knew I needed to work something out in my heart with Jesus, because I didn't want to shut that part of my life and my heart off and my heritage, but I also wanted to do it better. So somewhere in, I think 2009 or 10, your church, way before you were ever there, Vineyard North, hosted a conference by Gary Best, who wrote a book called Naturally Supernatural. And it was all about doing what Jesus did, ministering in the power of the Holy Spirit, doing supernatural things, but very naturally. And I felt like in that experience, I got some really good training. Like, here's what Jesus did. Here's what Jesus empowered us to do. Here's how we do it. Here's how to do it well and carefully. And that was a huge learning experience. And after that, I felt like I began to step out more again with confidence in praying for people to be healed and praying for prophetic words for people.
Oh, that's awesome. And there does seem to be a theme that's emerging, is people kind of gathering in groups and learning how to do this stuff, trial and error together, and experimenting and stepping out and practicing that risk. Faith is spelled R-I-S-K. And so that's definitely a theme. And, we are interviewing people like yourself because, we are hosting another conference, but now with Steve Nicholson in early September. And so please, if you're watching this, you're interested more in a little bit of what Amanda was talking about, come and check that out. And you said you might be coming, bringing up some people.
Yeah. And hoping
Warsaw.
People from Warsaw. Yeah.
Excellent. So if you were here at Vineyard North when Amanda preached and led us during the summer, you'll be able to see her again briefly. So, well, thanks for jumping on, Amanda, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much for this opportunity. Great talking to you.